Here's a rewritten version with smoother flow, stronger emotional impact, and a more polished storytelling style while preserving the original message. There are moments in a marriage that change everything. Moments when the person standing in front of you is no longer just your spouse, they become a crossroads. And the choice made in that moment can determine the future of everything you've built together. This was one of those moments. My wife and I had been married for 7 years. 7 years of laughter, disagreements, sacrifices, and dreams. We weren't perfect. No marriage is. But we had built a life together, brick by brick, through every challenge and every victory. Then he appeared. An old friend, she said. Someone she had known long before I came into her life. Someone connected to a chapter of her past that I knew very little about. At first, I wasn't concerned. I trusted her. Trust wasn't just part of our marriage, it was the foundation of it. But over time, small things began to change. She started coming home later than usual. Her phone was always face down. She smiled at messages she never shared. Physically, she was with me, but emotionally, she seemed somewhere else. I noticed. I always noticed. But I said nothing because sometimes speaking a fear out loud makes it real, and I wasn't ready to face that reality. Then one evening she came home, and something in her eyes was different. Distant. Detached. It felt as though part of her had been left somewhere else, and only half of her had returned. I asked if she was okay. She said yes. She always said yes. A week later, I learned the truth. She had been meeting him in secret for months. I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. I simply sat down. Because sometimes betrayal doesn't arrive like an explosion. Sometimes it arrives like a slow collapse, a building whose foundation has been weakening for so long that it finally gives way under its own weight. I looked at her. She looked at me. And the silence between us was louder than any argument could have been. Eventually, she confessed everything. She said she was confused. She said she didn't know what she wanted. Then she spoke words I will never forget. He was my past. You are my present. But I don't know what my future looks like. The room fell still. And then I said something I had never planned to say. Something that came from a place so deep inside me that I didn't know it existed until that moment. I looked her in the eyes and said, "If you go back to him, don't expect me to be here when you return." She froze. Not because she was thinking. Because she understood. In that instant, she realized there are some choices that cannot be undone. I will never forget the expression on her face. It was like watching someone wake from a dream and suddenly see reality for the first time. I had never spoken to her with that kind of certainty before. There was no anger in my voice. No shouting. No threats. No dramatic scene. In fact, it was probably the calmest I had ever been. And somehow, that calm carried more weight than any anger ever could. Because when someone who truly loves you becomes quiet, truly quiet, that's when you realize what's at stake. Not because they are giving up. But because they have reached the edge of what they can endure. Slowly, she sat down. Then she began to cry. Not the kind of tears meant to persuade. The kind that come from a place too deep to hide. The kind that break free when the truth can no longer be avoided. For the first time, I think she truly saw what she was about to lose. I didn't rush to comfort her. Not yet. Because there are moments when offering comfort too quickly turns accountability into permission. And I refused to make it easy to hurt me. So we talked. 4 hours. Not arguing. Talking. Honestly. Painfully. Openly. The kind of conversation we should have had years earlier. She told me she had felt invisible for a long time. That somewhere inside the routines of everyday life, she had begun to disappear. She didn't know how to tell me. And when someone else made her feel noticed again, she allowed herself to follow that feeling. I listened. I understood her pain. But I also told her something important. Understanding why you hurt me does not mean accepting what you did. Empathy and surrender are not the same thing. That night, she ended all contact with him. Not because I demanded it. Because she chose to. And that choice mattered. Because real change can never be forced. It has to be freely made. The road back wasn't easy. We went to counseling. We had uncomfortable conversations. We faced truths about ourselves that neither of us wanted to confront. And little by little, we rebuilt what had been damaged. Not perfectly. But honestly. Today, when we talk about that chapter of our lives, she says the moment everything changed wasn't when I discovered the truth. It was when I said those 11 words. If you go back to him, don't expect me to be here when you return. Because sometimes love isn't begging someone to stay. Sometimes love is having enough respect for yourself to say, I love you deeply, but I will not abandon my own worth to keep you. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is help someone understand exactly what they are about to lose. Not through anger. Not through threats. Not through desperation. But through quiet, unwavering truth. The truth that every relationship has a boundary. And the courage to stand firmly at yours. This version is more polished, emotionally layered, and reads like a professional relationship story narration suitable for YouTube, podcasts, or motivational storytelling content.